Step 2. Slow the water down and spread it out. The way water flows downhill depends on the shape of the land. If the land is very steep, the water will flow fast during rainstorms and will take soil and organic matter with it, causing erosion. If the slope is flat or gentle, then the water flows more slowly and causes little or no erosion. You can tell if the land is being eroded when you see dongas and when the streams flowing into the rivers and the rivers themselves are brown and muddy. Even soil under a tap can erode away if it's not protected, for example, by putting down rocks. Good topsoil is very precious as it has all the nutrients needed to grow good food. It cannot be replaced once it has been washed away, so we should try and prevent erosion. We can do this through stopping the run-off water from gathering too much speed or force, and this we can do by reducing the steepness of the slope, by shortening the distance the water runs downhill before it gets slowed down and spread out, and by increasing the ability of our soil to absorb water. There are a number of ways of shortening the distance that the water flows downhill. We can make small barriers across the slope on the contour line, such as lines of stones. We could dig a ditch on the contour line, or we can build terraces across the hillside. Contours are imaginary lines that are at the same level or elevation across the slope or around a hill, so that when you walk across the slope without stepping up or down, but just along the level, as if it is flat, then you are walking along the contour. It is usual when you start building barriers or ditches to start at the top of your catchment, which is the top of your homestead, your garden, or your field. When we dig a ditch to slow the water down, it is important to make sure that our ditch is level, because then the water stays still and sinks into the ground rather than flowing downhill. It is difficult to see what is level with our eyes, as often the landscape can be misleading, and what we think is level is actually downhill. Even when working in small areas like inside the garden, it is better to measure the level, because we get confused between the lines of fences and the lines of the houses. There are two types of homemade equipment that are simple to make and use, and which can help make sure our ditches are level and that they run along the contour of the land. These are the line level and the A-frame. A line level makes use of a spirit level which builders use to make sure that their buildings are straight. Inside the spirit level there's a little window with liquid and an air bubble. When the bubble is in the middle of the liquid, it means that the line level is level. To make a line level, you will need 5 to 20 meters of line or string, a spirit line level, 2 wooden poles about 2 meters long, and a measuring tape. If your areas where you are marking your contour is small, then you need maybe 5 meters of string. Otherwise, if your area is larger, you need to use 10 to 20 meters of string. For small areas, measure 5 meters of string. If you hold your arm out to your side and then measure the string from the tip of your hand to your opposite shoulder, it is roughly 1 meter. Measure 5 meters, cut the string, and then tie the string to each pole. An easy way of ensuring that knots are tied at the same height on the 2 poles is to stand next to the poles next to each other on a level floor and then make sure the knots are at the same height. Otherwise, you can measure with a tape measure and mark 10 centimeter intervals from the bottom of the poles and then ensure the knots are tied at the same height on each pole. Hang the spirit level on the line in the middle between the poles. To use the line level, 3 people are needed. One person will place their pole upright at a point on the ground which is marked with a small stone. The other person walks across the slope until the line is tight, and a third person hangs the spirit level in the middle of the string and keeps an eye on the air bubble. The second person then moves slowly up and down the hill until the air bubble is in the middle of the window. That shows that you are level and on the contour. This second point is then also marked with a stone or a stick before the line level is moved along to measure the next section.
It's good. It's good.
The second method is an A-frame. To make an A-frame, you will need the following materials: 2 wooden poles about 2 meters each, 1 wooden pole about 1.2 meters, wire or strong cord to connect the poles or a hammer and nails, 1 meter string or line, and a weight to attach to the string such as a stone. You start by connecting the 2-meter poles, long poles together at one end and using the strong cord or nails. Then you attach the shorter pole securely across the middle of the longer poles to form a figure A, using some cord or nails. This is the crossbar. Tie one end of the string to the top of the A where the 2 long poles are joined. Tie the weight to the other end of the string so that it hangs about 15 centimeters below the crossbar, but not touching the ground. To calibrate the A-frame, put the A-frame on solid, reasonably flat ground. Mark the positions of the legs on the ground. Let the weight settle to a natural position and make a temporary mark with a pen or a pencil where the string passes the crossbar. Note, the string must be close to the crossbar, but the weight must hang freely. Then rotate the A-frame so that the position of the legs is now reversed, but on the same spots as before. Once again, let the weight settle to a natural position and make a temporary mark. Exactly halfway between these 2 temporary marks is the level position of the A-frame. Make a permanent mark on the crossbar to indicate this position. To use an A-frame, you start by placing the A-frame along the slope where you want to mark the contour. Mark the positions of the legs using small stones or pegs. Now take a step along the contour, leaving one leg on the ground and pivoting the A-frame around so that the next leg is further along the slope. Do not pick it up off the ground. Now move the leg still floating up or down the slope until the string crosses your level line. Now place it on the ground and mark the spot. Continue to walk and pivot the A-frame along the slope.